Okay, everybody, welcome back. So now that we know what polynomials are, we know how to name them, we know the different parts of them, we're going to look at our next standard, which is A.APR.1, which is where we're going to perform operations on them, meaning we're going to add, subtract, and multiply. Now, in order to do that, we need to know what a like term is. So we know that terms are the things that are separated by the plus and the minus signs. Like terms are, terms with the same degree. So, for example, if I had a 5p cubed and a negative 7p cubed, those are both p's and they're both cubed. So, not only are they terms with the same degree and same variable. Okay, so the 5p cubed and the negative 7p cubed are like terms because they have the same variable and they have the same degree. Now, the reason we need to know that is because you can put like terms together. For example, number 4 says we're going to find the sum. Sum, if you forgot what that means add. Now, on this first one, I've got this first quantity, it's in parentheses, 2x cubed minus 5x squared plus x, and I'm adding it to the second quantity, it's in parentheses, 2x squared plus x cubed minus 1. Now, the first thing is, are the parentheses really necessary? And the answer to that question is no. Like, if I'm adding something to something, I don't really need the parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite it as 2x cubed minus 5x squared plus x plus 2x squared plus x cubed minus 1. Then I'm going to start looking at things that are kind of the same. And what I mean by that is take a look at your 2x cubed and your x cubed. Okay, now this is kind of like apples and oranges. If I have 2x cubed, that's like 2 apples. And then I have x cubed, that's like 1 apple. So if I take 2 apples and I add 1 apple, I have 3 apples. So we can combine like terms, and that's going to give me 3x cubed because I have 3 apples. And notice that the x cubed part doesn't change. You're just adding together those coefficients. So I've got 2 of them and I've got 1 of them, which makes 3 of them. Then you're going to go look for more like terms. So then I'm noticing, okay, I've got a negative 5x squared and I've got a 2x squared. So here I've got oranges, okay, so I've got negative 5 oranges and I have 2 oranges. So if I take negative 5 oranges and I add 2 oranges, that's negative 3 oranges. And notice that the x squared doesn't change, it's just the coefficient in the front. You're just taking negative 5 plus 2. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to find my next one. My next one would be an x. Do I have anything else with just a plain x on it? And the answer is no, so you just drop him down. And then last but not least, I've got a minus 1. That's a constant. Do I have any other constants? The answer is no, so you drop him down. Now, from here on out, all answers must be written in standard form. If they are not in standard form, you are not attending to precision, which is actually a math standard, so I will dock you a point. So standard form, we've got the x cubed followed by the x squared followed by the x followed by the constant. We are good, and this would be your final answer. Letter B. Okay, also addition. So again, the first thing I'm looking at is, are the parentheses really necessary? The answer to that is no. So I'm just going to drop the parentheses and write it as 3x squared plus x minus 6 plus x squared plus 4x plus 10. Okay, parentheses aren't needed, get rid of them. Then we start looking at like terms. Well, here I have an x squared. Do I have any other x squareds? Yeah, here I've got one. So 3 of those plus 1 more of those is 4 of those. So 4x squared. Moving down the line, x, 4x. So I've got 1 of the x's. I'm adding 4 more of the x's. Ultimately, that gives me 5 of the x's. Then I go look at my constants. I've got a -6. I've got a 10. That's just -6 plus 10, which is +4. And check your answer. Make sure, is it in standard form? And yeah, you go x squared, then you go x, then you go 4. So it goes 2, 1, 0, and we're all done. Find the difference. Difference, if you forgot, means subtraction. We're going to start the same way. Now, I've been asking you, do the parentheses matter? And so far with addition, the answer was no. So we just got rid of them. What about with subtraction? Do those parentheses matter? And the answer here is yeah, they actually do. Because if you forgot about something, it's called your distributive property. Here, with that subtraction sign, there's actually a -1. And what you're actually doing here is you're distributing that negative to the whole thing after it, not before it, but after it. So you're really taking -1 times -2n squared, -1 times +2n, and -1 times -4. And what happens when you multiply a negative to a whole bunch of things? And the answer to that is, well, it's going to change the sign. So if I take a look at -1 times -2n squared, a negative times a negative is really a positive. So that's going to get me a +2n squared. If I take a -1 times a 2n, that's going to be a -2n. And if I take a -1 times a -4, that's going to be a +4. So everything in that set of parentheses flipped its sign. Negative became positive, positive became negative. Then everything in front of that, that's going to stay the same. 4n squared plus 5. So at this point, I can get rid of the parentheses, but make sure you distribute the negative first. Okay, now we're just back to combining like terms. So I'm going to grab my 5. I'm going to grab my 4. Those are my constants. 5 plus 4 is 9. Then I'm going to grab my 4n squared and my 2n squared. And 4n squareds plus 2n squareds is 6n squareds. And then last but not least, I still have a -2n. He doesn't have a buddy, so I bring down -2n. Take a look at that. Is that in standard form? No, it is not. So we have to rearrange it. We're going to put the 6n squared first. We're going to put the -2n second. We're going to put the +9 at the end. Now we are in standard form, and that would be your final answer. Okay, letter B, subtraction once again. So step 1, do we need the parentheses? Yes or no? Here, yeah, those parentheses matter. So before you get rid of them, don't forget to distribute. So we're really going to have a -3x squared. A negative times a negative is a +x. A negative times a negative is a +8. So we distributed our negative, and then the first set of parentheses stays the same. So 4x squared minus 3x plus 5. Then we combine like terms. So this time I'm going to start with my x's. -3x, +x. I've got -3 of them, +1 of them. That's -2 of them. 4x squared, -3x squared. So a 4x squared, or 4 of those things minus 3 of those things, is 1 of those things. Do we really need the 1 there? No. And actually, I'm going to encourage you to get rid of it. Don't put the 1. It's implied. And then 5 and 8, which gives us 13. Okay, final answer. First of all, get rid of the 1 on that x squared. We don't need it. And second of all, write it in standard form. So 1x squared is just going to be x squared minus 2x plus 13. That is your standard form. And then there's your final answer.